Good morning. It's fancy coffee time. Did you sleep good? I don't remember what time I fell asleep last night. I know it was early, and I did sleep good. I did. Good morning, my precious girl. Chubby cheekies. Oh, sweet kitty love in the morning. Sweet kitty love. Not for long. Okay, what in the world did these cats get into last night? There's a mess. I went to Biddle chiropractor and got my Graston technique done. When I tell you that man gangstered my foot, oh, it's sore today, but he goes like really hard on it so that it breaks up more scar tissue. If you've never heard of Graston technique, I highly recommend it for any site on your body that has had a previous injury, okay? We're not gonna mind the hair. There were some hot flashes last night, so she's a little wild and wet. Wet and wild and wet, you know what I mean. And it's some Marsha sugar-free toasted marshmallow syrup. Everyone always asks me the brand for this. It's Provisto. I get it from Ollie's Bargain Outlet. I was so sleepy. So I went to therapy yesterday and I was like, what the hell is in there? It's the syrup. I went to therapy yesterday and I was so excited to do EMDR. We did not do EMDR. Because by the time we got done catching up on the week, it was 40 minutes into the session. Also, my nervous system may be a little too flared up for EMDR. That is something that you don't want to do when you're like not in a good place with your nervous system. Because some people think that like you can like reset your nervous system in 5 minutes. You really can't. And my therapist said yesterday, when someone has a mass exodus like I did, because okay, your girl saw a lot of unhealthy things in some relationships that she decided to have, some friendships. And when the red flags were just waving, I was just like, oh, I want to think the best of everybody. And I just don't listen to people sometimes. We're gonna brew it twice for concentrated Brooks strong coffee. And yeah, so then when I saw the red flags waving, I was like, hey, this isn't gonna work. And I ended all the friendships. And so my therapist said after a mass exodus, like I had, because I just cutting people off, that it's normal for like my nervous system to be flared. And there's been a lot going on. So I have kind of been on edge since Saturday, and I don't know why. Well, I didn't know why. So this is where therapy comes in clutch, because Saturday we had people over here, and we were setting up a little kiddie pool for the kids, you know? It was like really hot outside. And when I say really hot, it was like 98 degrees. Not the band, the temperature. So I'm helping my husband set up his pool, and I'm like bent over, and there's just sweat dripping into my eyes, like nonstop. And I say to my husband, I was like, can you go in the house and give me a towel to wipe my face? Because like I can't see. And he's like, yeah, sure. So he comes in, he grabs a towel, no, Tinkertons, you're okay. See how it brewed a concentrated shot? That was a coffee pot, but if you click it twice on the Nespresso, she'll brew you concentrated shots. You get super, it's not technically espresso, but it's kind of like it. What was I saying? Oh, so anyways, he comes outside, and I love my husband. He's amazing. I'm leaned over on this pool, and I'm blowing it up, and without saying anything, no warning whatsoever, he just comes like up under my face and like wipes. And I snapped. I didn't know why I snapped. He was just trying to help. There was no warning. And I think I apologized to him like 30 or 40 times. I was like, I don't know why I reacted like that. I am so sorry. I know you were trying to help. And it sat with me for a couple days. I was like, I didn't feel like guilty for snapping at him, but I knew there was something there that I just couldn't put together, right? I go to therapy yesterday, and I'm telling my therapist, catching her up on the whole week. Now, mind you, last week was the hair chop, almost nervous breakdown. I was dealing with harassment, stalking, all kinds of crazy shit from people that need to figure out where to invest their energy, and it was just a lot. My nervous system's been on fire. Anyways, that happened Saturday. I snapped. Go to therapy yesterday. I'm telling my therapist about everything. I tell her about that. And immediately, she figured out what it was way before I did. And this is like a warning that if you can't handle this kind of conversation, this is now your time to stop ending when it comes to childhood, things that shouldn't happen to children, okay? What that was. See, your subconscious remembers things. Even when you may not consciously remember, your subconscious holds on to it. I had already had a week, and this is why I don't think people understand why people snap in public places and things like that. And I didn't snap and freak out to that extent. He put his hand on my face, and I was like, "What the fuck? Get off me!" And I was like, "Get away!" It was like protection mode. My nervous system was on fire from the previous week. Okay, and you can't just do some meditation and yoga and reset your entire nervous system, because your subconscious and your nervous system know that those things are still there and they still need healed, right? When I was a little girl, some very, very, very bad things happened to me. During that, I was restrained. And during that, I had a hand over my mouth. So what we don't always give ourselves credit for is the way our body and mind react to things. And sometimes, not only do we not give ourselves credit, we hold shame and guilt in place of our body and nervous system protecting us, right? And there's no reason for that. No reason at all. So where I was confused at my reaction, my therapist immediately knew where it was, because I wasn't thinking of that, right? Because I haven't let that in my brain space for a couple weeks. I've been doing good with that childhood stuff. We're working, we're healing and glowing and growing, and I haven't been thinking about it. But just because I'm not consciously thinking about it doesn't mean when there's a direct activation, it's not going to activate, okay? Him putting his hand near my face at a point where I was stressed out, I was hot, I was agitated. Our dogs were going crazy. Daisy was freaking out over people putting off fireworks. It was just a very stressful day in the very beginning of the day. When he did that, he did nothing wrong. But my subconscious saw that as an immediate threat, okay? So I think sometimes when we see people out in public and they're just losing their shit, and someone picks up a phone and viciously records them to go viral on the interwebs, because we don't seem to care about humanity anymore, we care about going viral. I need you to understand that it wasn't that moment that made them snap, okay? Your brain has rewired itself to full protection mode after trauma. That's the brain's job, is to protect you. And my brain and my nervous system were stressed the fuck out. He put his hand near my face and I snapped. So yesterday we go to dinner because it was a therapy day. I thought I was gonna do EMDR, but we didn't, because it just, the catch up took so long. My nervous system is not where it needs to be. But I get an A for effort because I went in there fully prepared to do EMDR, okay, EMDR. So we ended up going out for dinner afterwards. And my husband and I, he always asks how therapy is. He knows therapy days can be a lot. And he asked how therapy was, and I said, it was okay. Kind of need to talk to you about Saturday when I lost my shit on you. Because my husband and I have been together for 10 years. And I can tell you how many times I've yelled at that man. That many. I've never disrespected him. We have said snide things when we're super irritated, but I do not yell at my husband. He does not yell at me. That is a non-negotiable in our relationship. Name calling, things. I grew up in that environment, and I was very, very clear with my husband that I would not live in what I grew up in. I will not create an environment that somebody has to survive. And he knows that, and we work well together with that. So we're at dinner, and he asks how therapy went, and I was like, good, but we need to talk. I was like, you remember Saturday when I overreacted? And he was like, yeah. I was like, do you want to know why I overreacted? And he was like, yeah. And as soon as I told him what my therapist pointed out to me, he was like, oh. The shame he felt. And I was like, no. And I was like, no, don't. You are not to feel that. I do not want you feeling that, because he knows I've told my husband every single thing about me. He knows. And it didn't even occur to him. And I was like, you don't have to be sorry for that, Jason. You do not have to apologize for doing what I asked you to do and trying to take care of me and wipe sweat on my face. This is not a you thing. It is a me thing. And it's not my fault. okay? And I know that. I know this is not a negative thing about me. I don't see it as my brain trying to destroy my life. I don't see it as that. I see it as we still have a lot of work to do. That's all. There's so much progress made. But understand that everything that ever happened to you that hurt you is still stored in your subconscious. Every single second of every day, your brain is computing millions and millions of details, millions of things that your brain is going to remember. When something bad happens, it's almost as if your brain remembers more and in stronger detail, okay? Because it has to be alert for protection. Therefore, because I was already on edge and my husband put his hand on my face, which is, we've now learned is a no-no when I'm not in a good headspace, okay? Just to wipe sweat off my face. We're still learning together. And you know what's crazy is that when I was drinking, I didn't have to worry about these flashbacks. I didn't have to worry about the activations, you know, the triggers, the things that I feel sometimes set me back day to day. I didn't have to worry about that because I was numb. I couldn't feel a fucking thing. I thought everything in life was fun and happy and giggly, and there was no seriousness, and there was so much misery and hurt and pain deep down in here that I don't know. I didn't want to feel anything. But now, sober from alcohol, I feel it 10 times more. And my brain is a lot more alert. And so then when things are happening that's creating chaos in my realm of peace, my brain goes into protection mode. And when he put his hand on my face with that rag, that was full protection mode. Like I never reacted like that. But a lot of it is also that I am healing. So when you're healing and hurting at the same time, because other people are just putting you through shit, you're more easily activated in terms of triggers. Because that barrier there, that numbness, that, you know, not feeling anything, you're feeling it all times 10. There's no making it go away. And I think that's something that I've struggled with. And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, especially in terms of like their journey of, you know, healing from past traumas and stuff, is that I don't think we give ourselves credit that you're going to have a good day. And then on the day that you heal, it's going to be like you're working on healing. It's going to be a really shitty day, because the days that you have to go back in the corner of your mind, not good, not good. So while I wanted to do EMDR yesterday, once we got to that topic of conversation with that activation, it was decided that it would not be good for me to go into EMDR therapy, because 100% honesty, the night of my life that happened to me, I have been avoiding an EMDR therapy. We are not ready for that yet. And I can tell you, I know I'm not ready for that yet. EMDR therapy can cause a mental breakdown if you're not careful with it. Okay, so I need you, when I first walked into my office, my therapist's office, I'll never forget, I walked in with a 12-month timeline and a list of all of my traumas that I wanted to heal. And she pretty much laughed at me. Not really, but yeah, she's like, no, it doesn't work like that. There is no timeline on healing, okay? Because you can't control how long it takes your nervous system to come back down, okay? How long it takes, and I mean, it can be weeks, it can be months, it can be years. There are people legitimately living in fight or flight every single day, okay? So I want to preface that by saying, like, it's okay to feel the setback. It's okay to feel like one day you're doing great and the next day you're not, and you have an activation and you snap and you say something you regret and you feel shame for it. It's okay to have those days, but it's not okay to be hard on yourself for not being perfect, right? That's what's not okay. We can have the bad days, we can feel the setbacks, we can feel like we're 2 steps forward and 5 steps back, but it's not okay to stay there, okay? So we went out to dinner. My husband and I talked a lot. We had plans on talking about other stuff with the podcast and all that, but we didn't even get to that because therapy took over the whole conversation. And I'm very grateful for my husband, who understands mental health and he gets it. And one day I think I'm going to be able to, well, I know I'm going to be able to process the things that happen. We're just not there yet. There's too many layers on the onion that we gotta pull back first. And it's frustrating that it still affects me. I'm not gonna lie. It's very frustrating. And it's even more frustrating that it affects me, or that it affected me, to my husband. Does that make sense? Like, he didn't deserve, and he knows. Like, as soon as I said it, like, he was like he knew. And it wasn't, I was like, no, please do not feel bad. Do not apologize, Jason. Like, you don't need to apologize. You don't. He's so good and so understanding. And I don't think there's a single human on this earth I've ever been able to be that open and honest with. Like, I have my husband. And him to be, like, so understanding, you know? So I felt a lot of shame and guilt for Saturday. And I shouldn't. And I know that, and he knows now. The more that you heal, sometimes it feels the closer those triggers are to the surface. And I guess that's frustrating. Yeah, frustrating would be the word. That would be the word. But there's hope that it's all, you know, it's all for a purpose. It's all for the higher version of me, the safer version of me, the healthier version of me, the woman I'm working towards becoming. And I am every day already. You know, I'm strong, I'm capable, I'm very true to my heart, I'm very loving. I can't let my brain's primal need for survival take away all the work I'm doing because I'm frustrated. Does that make sense? So I have to hold strong in the fact that, like, yes, I know these activations are a little bit closer to the surface now. Maybe I need to take more steps to protect myself, such as having that conversation with my husband over dinner and saying, hey, this is what happened. It's not you, but we need to make sure this doesn't happen again because I don't ever want to mistreat you. And he understands. There are things that happen to us in life that we cannot control, but we can control the healing, right? We can control doing the work to make it better, to make that little kid inside of us feel safe again and not scared and cowered in a corner and afraid to be free and be themselves. We can do the work. I ain't gonna fucking tell you it's easy, because that's a goddamn lie. That's a lie. But it's worth it. You know? Today is going to be filled with a little bit more peace. I'm gonna go work the brinery from 2 to 6 today, hang out with Maddie. She asked me to close, and I was like, yeah, I can't be doing closing shifts anymore. I gotta be in bed by like 8 o'clock, man. They kept me up until 3 o'clock in the morning on that porch the other night. I'm still catching up on sleep from that, you know? So, hey, good news is, on to another subject. I did find out that one of my guests on my dream and manifestation list for the podcast will be on the podcast. And that's my therapist. Okay, she did make me pinky swear promise her that when she does come on the podcast, when it's all up and running, we are not allowed to talk about anything regarding my sessions, my treatment, my diagnoses. Not allowed to do that. But we will, however, have a huge discussion on EMDR therapy because it has been life-changing for me, and she has so much more knowledge on it. But she said she would come on the podcast, but we are not allowed to talk about me because she's very protective of me as a client, and what I choose to share is fine, but not when she's on the podcast, because it's a HIPAA thing, it's a protection thing. But more than anything, I want her on the podcast not to talk about me at all. I want her to come on the podcast to share her knowledge, because I can give you my EMDR, information? I can't think, like I had a brain fart. I can give you everything I know about my experience of EMDR as a patient, as a client. She can give it to you from the therapist perspective. So once podcast is up and running, she's already agreed to be on it. And I was like so giddy, because I don't mind telling people who she is. I think she's amazing, but I don't want to share her too much to where she's so booked and busy that I don't get my normal time slot. That's not selfish. I don't care what you say, it's not selfish. Hot flash. Fucking shit. No, that's the light. We need the fan. Okay, this is the hot flash fan. It saves me. I don't need the light on though. I don't know why I keep pushing it. I have multiple hot flash fans around my house now. Shit you not. There was like one here, there's one on the table. I got a hot flash fan in my bedroom, that one I live with. I have a little fan out in the living room for my little workouts that I do. It's great. Yeah, so yesterday I also learned that I probably shouldn't do high rocks. Me and Jim Maddie, we were gonna sign up and do the High Rocks comp, but then we were doing some training yesterday, and Beth came over, and she's a trainer. She's so much fun, and we were trying to work on my lunges because lunges are a part of High Rocks, and I can do a lunge. Okay, I can do a lunge. My foot doesn't like it at all. No, she does not. And so I went over and I got the trainers and I was like, hey, can you come help me try to figure out like some better mobility with my foot? Because we're training for High Rocks. And Beth came over and she watched and she was like, how about if you just don't do High Rocks? Because it's stupid. And I was like, okay. No, actually, basically, well, she didn't say that, but she said it's stupid, not like the competition is stupid. So calm down if you're watching this. What is stupid is me brutalizing my foot for a fitness competition. She was like, because I told her, you know, I was like, well, I already dropped out of training for the half marathon. She was like, yeah, hey, how about with your injury, you don't do stuff like that. And I was like, ooh. So instead she put us on the assault bike. That was assaulting because that thing, she was like, do a 20-second burst, go as fast as you can, and then regular for a minute. By the second 20-second burst, I thought I was dying. I was like, why is a bike this much work? It can't be this much work. It is. It is. So anyways, me and Maddie, Jim Maddie, we're going to look for like a flippin' mud princess thing or something. I don't know. I'm so competitive. I want to do like a competition, but I'm not willing. Okay, because my husband reminds me all the time that if something happens to my foot, it will be amputated. There's no other choice. He's like, we already thought it was getting amputated once, babe. If something happens to your foot, it's gone for good. And I was like, I know, but it's so much fun. But he's right. I do need to stop trying to do chaotic things that my body would not like me for. It's just so fun. You know, it's just so fun. I want to do a competition. Hey, can we just do like Olympics or something in the backyard? Please. All my friends are watching this. We should do that. We should figure out how to do that. Yeah, that's that. I would do Olympics in the backyard. I got a couple brooms. We can do curling. It'd be so fun. Okay, 3 things I'm grateful for. Hot flash fan is going to be number 1. Therapy. Trauma therapy, to be specific. Because what would have happened, what could have happened, is if I didn't figure out why I reacted to my husband like that, it was likely that without settling that, I would have continued to carry guilt and shame for how I reacted to him instead of understanding that that was a reaction from little 5-year-old Desiree who had no control over what other people did. And he knows, and he's more than loving and okay with being patient with me. And God, I'm just so grateful for that, man. And therapy. And the third thing that I'm grateful for, fancy coffee time with you. Because who doesn't love coffee and emotions together on a Wednesday morning? Okay, tell me 3 things you love, 3 things you're grateful for. And I hope you have a good day. I hope this video helped you think about some things, maybe how you've reacted, and look at what caused that reaction, because it probably, most likely, was not what was happening in that moment. It was something else. Okay, love you, bye.